That's really nice.
Which one? The strawberry one?
I have the strawberry one. Alright, so now that I've talked about why I left college and everything that had to do with that, if you haven't seen that video, that is the previous video. If you want to go look at that, check that out. I want to talk about what's next for me, because I don't want my channel to just be about the past or the things that went wrong. I want it to be about what I'm doing now, what I'm planning, and how I'm getting myself into a better place. And honestly, preparing for A-levels feels like the first step into actually rebuilding my life in a way that makes sense for me. So yeah, I'm going to be taking A-levels. And I know that might surprise some people because A-levels are seen as this big academic thing. But honestly, they fit me so much better than what I was doing before. I'm taking religious studies, classical civilization, and English language. And I know that sounds like a very specific combination, but it actually makes perfect sense for who I am and how my brain works. I've always been someone who thinks deeply, who likes analysing things, who likes understanding people and ideas and stories. I'm not someone who thrives in chaotic physical environments. I'm someone who thrives where I can sit down, think, write, reflect, and actually use my brain in a calm way. And these subjects let me do that. They're academic, they're structured, they're stable, and they don't require me to be running around or pushing my body past its limits. They're subjects where your mind matters more than your physical stamina, and that's exactly what I need right now. Preparing for A-levels feels different from preparing for college. It feels calmer, it feels more intentional, it feels like I'm choosing something that fits me instead of forcing myself into something that breaks me. And honestly, the first part of preparing for A-levels has just been giving myself permission to slow down, to rest, actually let my body recover from the months of pain and exhaustion I've been dealing with. Because you can't start something new when you're still burnt out from the last thing. You need space to breathe. So right now my prep looks like getting my health sorted. I've got my GP appointment coming up. I'm taking that seriously. I'm being honest about my symptoms, about how I've been feeling, about how everything's been affecting me. Because if I'm going to succeed in A-levels, I need to be in a better place physically and mentally. I can't go into this half broken and expect myself to thrive. I need to rebuild properly. And then there's a practical side of preparing. So I've been looking at the subjects, looking at what they involve, looking at the kind of work I'll be doing. Religious studies is a lot of philosophy, ethics, debates, understanding different worldviews. Classical civilization is like Greek mythology, history, literature, culture, basically everything I love. And English language is analysing how people communicate, how language shapes society, how words influence everything. These are subjects I can actually see myself enjoying, not just tolerating. I've also been thinking about routines, not strict ones. I'm not trying to become some Pinterest study aesthetic person, but just gentle structure. Waking up at a reasonable time, keeping my space tidy enough that my brain doesn't feel cluttered, doing small bits of reading, getting fresh air, drinking water, eating properly, just basic things that help your mind function. Because A-levels aren't just about intelligence, they're about consistency, and I want to build that slowly without overwhelming myself. And honestly, I'm excited. I'm nervous, obviously, because it's a big change and I've had a rough time recently, but I'm excited. This feels like a fresh start, a clean slate, a chance to actually build a future that fits me instead of trying to squeeze into something that hurts. And I know some people might think A-levels are harder than college, and in some ways they are, but they're hard in a way that makes sense for me. They're hard in a way that challenges your mind, not your body. They're hard in a way that feels rewarding, not draining. I'm also preparing myself mentally for the fact that this is a long journey. A-levels aren't something you rush, they take time, effort, patience, and resilience. And I'm ready to give that. I'm ready to commit to something that actually aligns with who I am. I'm ready to take my time, do properly, and build something stable. So, what's also been on my mind while preparing for A-levels is the fact that I'm going to be 18 when I start. And I know that's not old. Obviously, it's not. There's so many people who switch up their lives when they're like 20, 30s, sometimes in their 50s. But it is different because I finished year 11 2 years ago. I've lived a whole life since then. I've been through college, I've dealt with health issues, burnout, long commutes, pressure, decisions, mistakes, growth, all of it. I had to grow up fast. And now I'm going back into an environment where a lot of people will still be fresh out year 11, literally 15 to 16, straight from school, still in that mindset, still in that bubble. And it's weird to think about because I remember what I was like at that age. I remember how emotionally immature I was, how everything felt dramatic, how I thought I knew everything when I actually knew nothing. And now I'm going to be sitting in a classroom with people who are exactly how I used to be, while I'm coming with 2 extra years of life experience, not a glamorous experience. Not a fun experience, but real experience. It's the kind of forces you to grow whether you want to or not. And I'm not saying that in a superior way. I'm saying that in a I'm not saying I'm better or more mature or anything like that. It's just different. I've had time to reflect. I've had time to fail. I've had time to rebuild. I've had time to understand myself in a way you don't when you're 16 and everything is happening for the first time. And I think that's going to change how I approach A-levels. I'm not going in with that school mindset anymore. I'm not going in thinking it's the next step because everyone else is doing it. I'm going in because I've chosen it. Because I know what doesn't work for me. Because I know what I want my life to look like. Because I had to make real decisions, not just follow the path that was handed to me. And honestly, I think being a bit older is going to help me. I'm not going to get caught up in the drama. I'm not going to care about popularity or cliques or who's friends with who. I'm not going to be scared to ask questions or admit if I don't understand something. I'm not going to be embarrassed to sit at the front or actually try. I'm not going to be afraid of teachers. I'm not going to be intimidated by the idea of studying. I've already been through worse than a difficult essay. But at the same time, I know it might feel strange at first, being surrounded by people who are just starting their journey while I'm restarting mine. People who haven't had to make the kind of decisions I've had to make. People who haven't had to deal with the kind of pressure I've dealt with. People who are still figuring out who they are, while I'm coming in with a clearer sense of myself. Not perfect, not fully formed, but definitely more grounded than I was at 16. And I think that's okay. I think it's actually a strength because I'm not going in blind. I'm not going in naive. I'm going in with intention. I'm going with purpose. I'm going in knowing exactly why I'm there and what I want out of it. And that's something I didn't have when I was younger. So yeah, being 18 in a class full of fresh year 11s is going to be interesting. But I'm not scared of it. If anything, I think it's going to make me more focused, more mature, more ready. I've lived a bit. I've struggled a bit. I've learned a bit. And now I get to use all of that to actually build something stable for myself. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm also mentally preparing myself for the fact that this is a long journey. A-levels aren't something you rush. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Preparing for A-levels isn't just about buying stationery or making a study timetable. Like, I love that stuff, but don't get me wrong. It's about healing. It's about choosing the right subject. It's about understanding yourself. It's about building a routine that supports you instead of destroys you. It's about taking control of your life in a way that feels healthy and sustainable. And I'm proud of myself for choosing that path. I'm proud of myself for not giving up. I'm proud of myself for changing direction instead of letting myself fall apart. And I'm excited to take you all along with me as I start this new chapter because I think it's going to be a good one. Not perfect, not easy, but good. And that's good enough for me right now.